Private Thomas Holey adjusted the strap of his kit bag with his good hand, testing the weight on his shoulder. It ached faintly, but the doctors had cleared him, fit for duty, they'd said. The hospital courtyard buzzed with movement, orderlies stacking crates, soldiers forming up in small groups bound for the front. Beyond the low stone wall, the countryside stretched out peaceful and green, almost pretending there wasn't a war tearing it apart. Thomas paused, glancing up at the hospital windows, and there she was, the young blonde nurse who had first leaned over his bed when he woke from fever. She stood at the window of the ward, watching the men assembling below. Even from this distance, he recognized the softness in her expression. Their eyes met across the courtyard. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, Thomas turned and headed back inside the hospital. He found her in the corridor carrying a tray of freshly folded bandages. She stopped short when she saw him, her composure faltering just slightly. "You're leaving?" she said, her voice quiet. "This morning," he replied. They stepped out through a side door into a quieter corner of the courtyard, away from the others. A large tree cast long shadows across the bench where they had once sat together. Thomas set his bag down. "I wanted to see you before I went," he said. She folded her hands in front of her apron. "I knew this day would come." In the distance, the faint rumble of artillery rolled across the horizon. "I'll be thinking about you," Thomas said, his voice earnest. "Out there." Her eyes searched his face. "The casualty lists grow longer every week, Thomas." It was the first time she had spoken his name so plainly, without his rank. "Sometimes the men we send back don't return at all." He stepped closer to her. "I came back once," he said gently, nodding toward his shoulder. "I'll do it again." She tried to smile, but doubt lingered in her eyes. "You can't promise that." "No," he admitted. "But I can promise this: I'll come find you again." He reached for her, gently drawing her into his arms. For just a heartbeat she hesitated. Then she leaned into him, holding on tight as if memorizing the shape of him. He bent and kissed her a long, steady kiss, not rushed. The world seemed to fall away in that single moment, the sound of the distant guns fading into complete silence. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead lightly against hers. "I will find you again," he said softly. She swallowed hard and nodded, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. A sharp whistle blew from the main courtyard. The soldiers were forming up in a column. Thomas picked up his kit bag and slung it over his shoulder. He gave her one last, meaningful look before turning toward the column of soldiers. Boots began to march in a steady rhythm against the gravel path. He joined the line without looking back again. She remained where she stood in the courtyard, looking small against the tall stone walls of the hospital. As the men marched away toward the distant thunder, she watched him go. A single tear slipped down her cheek, catching the morning light, as Private Thomas Holey disappeared down the road, heading once more toward the trenches, and the uncertain promise of finding her again. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content like this.